burst in, shouting words that froze everyone in their seats. "Don't kill her! She's innocent." In that moment, the fate of a billionaire single mom, moment away from losing everything, suddenly changed. But who was this mysterious stranger? And why would a man with nothing risk at all to save her life? The truth behind this shocking twist will leave you speechless. "Don't kill her, she's innocent." The shout ripped through the courtroom like thunder. For a moment, it felt like time itself had stopped. The judge froze mid-sentence, his gavel raised in the air. Jurors gasped, reporters jerked their heads toward the sound, and the billionaire single mom on trial nearly collapsed in her seat. All eyes turned to the back of the room. There stood a man who looked completely out of place. His clothes were dirty and torn, his hair uncombed, his shoes barely holding together. His hands trembled as he pointed toward the front. He wasn't a lawyer, a witness, or even someone on the trial list. He was a homeless man who had wandered into the courtroom, yet his voice carried more weight than anyone else in the room. Security rushed toward him, but he didn't stop. His voice grew louder, stronger, desperate. "She didn't do it. You got the wrong person. Please. I was there. I saw the truth." The judge slammed his gavel, demanding order, but the silence that followed was deafening. The woman on trial, Victoria Hayes, a billionaire businesswoman and single mother, stared at the stranger with wide eyes. She had never seen this man before in her life. Yet here he was, standing up for her when it felt like the entire world had turned against her. The prosecutor sneered, waving it off as a cheap stunt. But the man didn't flinch. His eyes burned with determination as he repeated, "She's innocent. You're about to destroy her life for a crime she didn't commit." Reporters scrambled to snap photos, their cameras clicking like a storm. The jury leaned forward, whispering to each other. Even the judge hesitated, sensing something unusual. This wasn't just a random outburst. This man believed every word he was saying. Victoria's lawyer leaned toward her and whispered, "Do you know him?" She shook her head quickly, tears forming in her eyes. She couldn't understand why a stranger would risk everything to help her. But deep inside, a flicker of hope lit up in her heart. The first real hope she had felt since her trial began. And at that moment, the entire case shifted. The world had been ready to condemn her, but now, one broken man, one unexpected voice, had shattered the silence. Everything was about to change. Her name was Victoria Hayes, and to the world she seemed untouchable. A billionaire businesswoman, a sharp and respected leader in the tech industry, and above all, a devoted single mother to her little girl, Lily. People looked at her life and thought she had it all: money, power, influence. But what no one knew was that behind the headlines and luxury, Victoria was fighting for the very thing that mattered most: her freedom and the chance to be there for her daughter. The nightmare began when she was accused of orchestrating the death of a rival businessman. Suddenly, headlines that once praised her success now painted her as a monster. Every news outlet carried the same story: billionaire mother faces murder charges. The evidence seemed overwhelming. There were suspicious phone records, forged emails linking her to crime, and witnesses who swore they saw her near the scene that night. Victoria cried out that it was all set up. She begged the court to believe her, but no one listened. To the prosecution, she was just another rich woman abusing her power, willing to do anything to protect her empire. But behind the cold accusations, Victoria's heart wasn't focused on her company. It was on her daughter, Lily. Only 7 years old, Lily didn't understand the details of the trial. All she knew was that her mother might not come home again. Every day, Victoria carried Lily's photo in her pocket. She would hold it during breaks, whispering to herself, "I can't give up, not for her." As the sentencing day approached, Victoria's hope began to fade. She was ready to accept the worst, to lose everything she had built. And then, in the moment she thought it was over, the homeless man appeared. His name was Daniel Carter, a man most people passed by without even noticing. For years, he had lived on the streets, forgotten by society, surviving on scraps and kindness from strangers that rarely came. To the world, he was invisible. But Daniel carried something inside him that no one else knew. The truth about the crime Victoria Hayes was accused of. On the night the rival businessman was killed, Daniel had been wandering the city, searching for a place to sleep. He had ducked into an alley behind the office building where the crime occurred. From the shadows, he saw everything. He saw the real killer, someone dressed in a sharp black suit, carrying a briefcase. He remembered the man's nervous glances, the way he rushed to a waiting car, and how quickly he disappeared into the night. Daniel wanted to tell the police. He wanted to shout the truth right away. But years of being ignored, dismissed, and looked down on had broken his faith. He knew what people would say. Why should we trust a homeless man? To them, he was nobody. So he stayed quiet. But as the trial went on, Daniel couldn't escape the headlines. He read newspapers in the library, watched news reports from store windows, and saw Victoria's face everywhere. He saw a mother's tears, a woman begging for someone to believe her, and he realized he couldn't keep silent anymore. The night before her sentencing, Daniel made his decision. He might have nothing, no home, no family, no wealth, but he still had his voice. If speaking up meant saving an innocent woman, he would risk it all. So he walked into the courtroom that day, stood tall, and shouted the words that changed everything. The moment Daniel spoke, the prosecutor pounced. With a sharp voice, he sneered, "Your Honor, are we really going to waste time listening to a homeless man? He has no credibility, no record, and no reason to be trusted." The courtroom filled with uneasy murmurs, but Daniel didn't back down. Standing in his worn-out shoes, with the entire room staring at him, he lifted his chin and said, "I may not have much, but I know what I saw. I was there that night, and she didn't do it. Someone else did, and I can prove it." The prosecutor grilled him with questions, trying to make him stumble. "Why didn't you come forward sooner? Why should anyone believe you now? Isn't this just a desperate plea for attention?" Daniel's response was steady, almost calm. "Because people like me are invisible to you. No one listens to the homeless. I stayed quiet because I thought my voice didn't matter. But watching this trial, watching you destroy her life for something she didn't do, I realized I couldn't stay silent anymore. Believe me or don't, but the truth doesn't change." The judge leaned forward, intrigued. He ordered investigators to recheck the evidence based on Daniel's testimony. To everyone's shock, the details matched. The store security camera near the alley showed a man in a black suit at the exact time Daniel described. The briefcase that Daniel mentioned, it was later discovered, filled with incriminating documents that pointed to someone else entirely. The courtroom buzzed with disbelief. Reporters rushed out to break the news. Jurors exchanged worried looks. And for the first time, Victoria's lawyer allowed himself a small smile. Daniel's words, once dismissed as worthless, were now the most powerful weapon in the room. When the final verdict was read, the courtroom erupted. Not guilty. Victoria's knees buckled as relief washed over her. Tears streamed down her face, and she clutched a small photo of her daughter she had carried every single day. At last, she could breathe again. At last, she would go home. Her daughter Lily ran into her arms, and Victoria held her tight, whispering, "Mommy's here. Mommy's never leaving you again." For the first time in months, the fear of losing everything melted away. But even in her joy, Victoria didn't forget the man who had made this moment possible. At the back of the courtroom, Daniel Carter stood quietly, almost ready to slip away unnoticed, as if he didn't belong there. Victoria approached him. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were full of gratitude. "Why did you do it? You didn't even know me." Daniel gave a faint smile. "Because someone had to. I couldn't let an innocent woman pay for someone else's crime." Victoria refused to let him disappear back into the shadows of the city. She saw more than just a homeless man. She saw courage, loyalty, and humanity. She offered him a place in her company, a real chance to rebuild his life. At first, Daniel hesitated. He wasn't used to people giving him anything. But eventually he accepted, and with that decision, both their lives changed forever. Months later, the world saw an image they'd never forget. A billionaire single mom and a once-forgotten homeless man, working side by side, proving that compassion and bravery can rewrite destinies. Daniel's act of courage had saved a mother, restored justice, and reminded the world of one powerful truth. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones we least expect. And that's how one homeless man's courage saved a billionaire single mom from a life behind bars. It's a reminder that real heroes aren't always the ones we expect. Sometimes the most unlikely people change everything. If this story moved you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. And remember, never underestimate the impact of a single voice.